Welcome to the Profile Series. I'm your host, Linda Sandu. I'm here today with Karen DeSimone. Karen, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you. You are owner of KD Physical Therapy and Fitness in Yarmouth Port, and you are a pretty amazing woman. And so I'm in awe of you. You're an Iron Woman. I know you compete in Ironman, but shouldn't you be called an Iron Woman?
Well, half if you're going to be technical about it. I did a half Ironman, so
half Ironman
recently. Yeah.
And congratulations, you
Thank
came
you.
in third.
Third in my age group. Yep.
You have a wealth of knowledge about physical fitness, about physical therapy, and we have convinced you to do a show called KD Fit Tips. And what you're going to do is like a 5-minute, 5 or under minute show on proper fitness and how people can stay healthy as we age on the Cape, or as we want to progress on the Cape and get more involved with physical fitness. So we're excited about that. And I want you to tell the people a little bit about you so they kind of feel like they know you and can contact you if they need to. So start off, tell us where you're from and who you are.
Well, I grew up in Billerica, Massachusetts, and I lived there most of my life until, and I moved to the Cape about 7 years ago, and I love it here on the Cape. It's wonderful. And I decided to open up my own clinic so I could better serve my patients, which was the primary concern for me. With all the healthcare changes, it was very difficult to keep patients at the foremost of your sessions, and I thought that with the insurance changes, I could do it the way I wanted to on my own. So that's why I decided to open up my clinic. And since my passion is fitness, I wanted to combine the two because I think they go very well together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, what brought you to the Cape? What made you choose Cape Cod over staying in Billerica?
Well, I have two very dear friends that live on the Cape. One grew up here on the Cape, and the other one, who was my very dear friend from childhood, moved here after we graduated from high school. So she's been here for just a few years now. No, she's been here many years. So having some allies here, I thought,
Absolutely.
and I've always loved the ocean, I said, this is a time in my life where I could make that change, and I said, go for it. So I went for it, and I'm so glad that I did. I love it here.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And you are very accomplished in your degrees that you have. You didn't start out in physical therapy, though.
No, I started out, I had a management information system bachelor's with a computer science minor, and I was a software engineer for about 10 years before I decided to go back to school. When the engineering industry was changing, I worked for Wang Industries, which is no longer. I started to get more and more into fitness, and I decided to be a fitness instructor, and that kind of one thing led to another, and then I decided, why don't I do this? This is where what I really love, so why don't I do this? And I just looked at different vocations, and I thought that physical therapy would be a good fit for me. So I decided to go back to school. So I went back to school, and I got a master's. I got a second bachelor's in exercise physiology, and then I went on to get my master's in physical therapy, and I got my doctorate in physical therapy as well at Massachusetts Institute of Health Professions in Boston.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it was a lot of years. I don't know if I'd do it again if I had known it was going to be so many years, but it's a really good fit for me, and I'm so glad that I did. Yes,
yeah.
I love it.
Oh, and you're great at it. And I know from my own personal experience, but also seeing you in action with other patients, you give off such confidence. Like you let people know that they can get better,
Yeah.
and that if they can't do it the way they used to do it, they're going to do it a different way and still accomplish what they want to accomplish. And that's what I think is so wonderful. One of the many things I think is wonderful about you.
Well, I think it's so important to know your patients, and I think that's a piece that gets missed a lot. You really have to know who that person is and what their goals are. That's the primary importance. What do they want to accomplish with this? And we're a team. We're a team. I can't do it myself, and they need some help. So we're a team, and it really goes back to that every time I see them, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And one thing I want you to talk a little bit about, because we are on Cape Cod and we do have an elderly population here, and I know you have a population of patients. They're not only patients, so people can come into your office and just exercise, and it's almost supervised exercise, right? Talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that and how, I think it's so sweet. I think it's a wonderful thing you do. I was there for somebody's birthday party, so I know how great you are.
Yeah.
But talk about that and tell me, be specific in some experiences that you've had.
Well, I've had a gentleman that I met when I first moved to the Cape, and he came to me for some physical therapy. And he did not want to be there. It was so amazing. And then we met, and he did very, very well. And he didn't want to stop exercising. So when I opened my own clinic, I offered that as an adjunct to the therapy. So if they didn't have a place to do their exercises, I offered that at my clinic for a very small fee. So they pay each time they come, and they can come almost anytime they want as long as I'm there. So it is supervised, but they're on their own. So I design their program, and they're usually used to doing it because it's what they usually did in therapy. But if I notice that it's too easy for them or too hard for them, we'll modify it and change it for them so they can come and do that. And so a couple of people have been there for years. They come when they can, and they stop and they come back, and it's wonderful. I'm really happy that they do that. I love to see them come back.
I think that's great. You also do yoga at your facility and Pilates.
Yeah.
So it's a busy place. What are your hours that you like to stay open? Or to me, you always seem very flexible to what the patients need or what your clients need.
Yes, I try. I do the best I can. It's hard being a one-person company with a secretary, so there's a lot of administration that needs to happen behind the scenes, which people forget.
Right.
That if I could see patients 24/7, I'd much rather do that, but unfortunately I won't get paid, so I have to stay open in that regard. But yes, I try to have hours in the morning and then into the evening as often as possible. So typically first patient would be 8:45 or 9:30, and then last patient's usually around 6 o'clock.
That's a long day.
Yeah, it is a long day, but I love it. The therapy goes by fast. It's all the other things that go by.
It's the paperwork.
It's the paperwork, and I have to force myself to sit down and do it.
Yeah.
So it's required.
So let's talk a little bit about Katie Fit Tips and your new show you're going to do. We're going to do it at your facility. So it'll be in the actual gym part of it. Talk a little bit about what you want to accomplish with that, what you want people to see on it. Like, do you want people to watch you and get on the floor and start doing what you're doing, or what are you looking for?
I think they can do it whatever fits best for them. I think people make some common errors in their exercise that are very easily fixed if they just had some more knowledge about why they're doing certain things and what it is that they can accomplish with those things. For example, just stretching. Some people don't have a variety of stretches that would better suit them depending on what they need. So we can talk a little bit about prior injuries or current injuries and ways to perfect or to make their stretching more efficient and more productive for injury prevention and for muscle lengthening and flexibility. I think that's a big part of what we miss when it comes to exercise and rehabilitation as well.
I think one thing you taught me, which I value a lot, is the difference between muscle soreness and muscle pain and injury pain. And I think that's it's hard to teach somebody that unless they're feeling it.
Yeah.
But that was a very conscious. It's a conscious thing that you're watching for when you exercise. Then if you're saying, okay, that's my muscle pain, that's not a bad thing, right?
Right, and that's hard for people. It's hard for people because I think as humans we're used to ignoring our pain. We're so adapt to saying it's nothing, and I'm forcing you to say, pay attention. You have the knowledge inside of you to know. You're just telling me and I'm simulating it for you. But you know if you pay attention, and then I can teach you how to listen to your own body and what it's actually telling you, and then we go from there. So I think that's the big key for a lot of patients.
Absolutely. And you practice what you preach. So talk a little bit about your injury. When you were first training for your half Ironman, you had 2 injuries, right?
Yeah, not at the same time, but yes, and I'm human too, and I don't like to stretch. It's boring and it takes a long time, and you only have so much time to do your exercise, and you want to get that done, and you're trying to get through your day, and so I didn't stretch enough, and it was early on, and I went through my training program for that day, and I think I was on my 2nd or 3rd repeat of sprinting, and it was winter, so it was on the treadmill. And my calf just started aching and hurting. I said, I recognize it right away. So instead of keeping going, which a lot of people would have done, I said, this is something I really need to take care of. So I nursed it back, and I did what I could, and I paid attention. I said, what kind of pain is this? Is this muscle pain, or does it seem like it's deeper, and where is it? And so I was able to give myself some soft tissue and really pay attention and do my stretching, which I didn't do enough of prior to that particular episode. And I missed a few workouts, or I did a few workouts that were tailored to my injury, and I got right back, and it hadn't happened since then, so it was great.
So that is great.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a tough one, because if I had gone any further, I would have really had a problem and possibly a tear. So I recognized it right then and there, and I didn't push it. And I think that was the key.
That is very important.
Yeah.
Now, how could you, in the show, how can you convey that? How can you, like, with your knowledge? I mean, it's hard to to say to somebody, this is muscle or this is something worse. What was? I mean, you're so attuned to your body. You're so fit, but what is a clue that somebody could have to say it's more than what?
I think it depends, a lot of it, for that particular, it depends on where it is a lot of the time.
Right.
So for that particular thing, it was, I could tell that it was instantaneous, and I could feel my muscle lock. And it was pain. It was pain to the point that if I continued, it was getting worse. It wasn't mild, it was very severe. It was very to the point that I needed to alter my pattern of running.
Okay.
So that was an indication that, yes, it's something that you need to pay attention to. If you need to alter what you're doing and you need to limp through it, obviously that's something that you really need to pay attention to and say, okay, this might be something more that I can't work through it. So for me, that in that particular moment, it locked up. I couldn't run my normal gait pattern, and I said, yes, we have to do that. And so I worked it out, and it felt okay. Every time I went to do it, if I went beyond a certain speed, it would happen again. So I knew it wasn't just I needed to warm up, I needed to walk through it. But that is a very difficult question, and I think that's why a lot of people need some assistance, because you need to tease that out. And it's the small things that people say to me. It's the things that sometimes they don't recognize as important. I said, that's it. That's what we need to pay attention to. So I think it depends on the location, the severity, and actually how it happened. And I think people forget that when they're talking to me about what they did or didn't do prior, either that day, the previous day, or afterward, to make those sorts of things happen in their daily life.
Right, right. So with the fit tips, you're going to start with stretching. How do you tell somebody, like, we all want to be you. We all want to do a half Ironman. We all want to be, be Superwoman. How do you build up to that? If
very slowly.
Yeah,
very slowly.
That's right.
I started doing triathlons, actually watching my friends here on the Cape, and I said, wow, I've always admired them, and I said, that's what I want to do. So I started slow. I started doing the running at that particular time involved a 3.5 mile run. And I hadn't been running at all, so I started slow. I started with a mile, and I said, okay, I need to rest, and to have days in between, and then I added on 10% or less each time, or for the week, and then I just added very slowly. So it's been, I think, 4 years now, and now I'm just at the half marathon distance, and that's 13.1. So it's been over time.
Yeah.
So I started at 3.5 and did about 5, and then I built up to a 10K, and then I built up beyond that. So it's been over the years that I've built up that distance. It didn't happen overnight. And if it had, I would be injured.
And that's key.
And
I think that's what everybody needs to know.
And that's the key.
You don't look
normal.
like this.
It's normal.
Right, right.
It's normal, and you need to go slow, or you're prone for injury.
Right.
Especially at my age. So, yeah.
Yeah. And talk a little bit, just because I know it's intriguing to everybody, about the Ironman race and the half Ironman race. What was going through your mind, and kind of walk us through a little snippet of the race itself, because that's something we're all so proud of you for doing.
On race day, I'm always nervous. I get really nervous, so I'm working on that, because I think a lot of that's mental, and you have to just trust your training and know that you've prepared well. And so I knew that, so that was the calming force. And my husband, Bob, he's wonderful. He's so helpful. I know my bike's in order because he maintains that, and he takes care of that for me, and I know I have all my equipment because he makes sure he does the checklist and makes sure I have everything. So in that aspect, it's good. I had some wonderful friends, wonderful friends that helped me train and came with me training, and they're training for a full Ironman, so I trained with them quite frequently in the swim, and swam outdoors, and that was wonderful. But race day, actually, they did the national anthem, and I started bawling my eyes out. And my husband was about, I don't know, 30 feet away, and I looked over at him, and I went to hand him my bag, because I was in transition, and he was just outside, and he goes, what's the matter? And I said, I just got really nervous. And he just looked at me and goes, you'll be fine. And then my friend who was with me, she was also participating in the race, Terry Walsh, who teaches the yoga at the clinic, and she gave me a big hug, and I walked over, we went to the swim, and afterward I said to my husband, were you nervous when I started crying? And he said, no, I knew you'd be fine.
Well,
So-
and he's such a great support for you.
Yeah, I
That's-
don't know if I would do it without his support. It's just so much training, and it takes up a lot of time. It takes up time away from home and cleaning and all the things you need to do, and he's just wonderful. He just does a lot of those things for me, so I'm very fortunate.
I think that's
Yeah,
great.
he's wonderful.
I think it's great. So the fit tips are going to run through the day. Every day we're going to have them running.
That's great.
What
excited.
are you going to have people have some sort of goal in mind, or is it going to be more general, or?
I think we'll do some foundation things, or things that I think are very important that people miss about their fitness and rehabilitation. Core stability is one of them. Core stability to me is the foundation of everything. Without your core being stable, I don't think you can proceed, really. It comes back to that for all my patients and everyone I think that does fitness really needs to have a strong core. So I think we're going to come back to some fundamentals of what I think are important for people to have as a foundation as they grow in their fitness and in their goals. So I think we'll start with there, and then we can move to different aspects of things, maybe different body parts, different things that people miss with that. I think stability and flexibility are really key. So I think we'll maybe start there, and then if other people have anything that they want specific, then I'd be more than happy to do that as well.
They can contact you.
Absolutely.
Your information's running below.
Absolutely, and I would love that. It'd make it a lot easier. Then I
That's
don't have to
right.
make up things that people aren't interested in. I'd much rather have somebody say, can you show me how to do this or that, and that would be great.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So contact the number below, the website below. It's a great website, and we're looking forward to it.
Oh, great. I am too.
Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Katie Fit Tips running throughout the days to come. I'm Linda Sandu. We'll see you next time.